Well, howdy again, it's Mr. Pete, your YouTube shop teacher, and you're watching tips number 1030, that's 1030. And it's part one of a two-part video on reassembling the beautiful green South Bend tool room lathe. Now, I hope you've watched the three previous videos, 922, 923, and 924, because that's all leading up to this video. And I will create a playlist, if you can figure out how to use those, on all of the videos regarding this machine as we progress, because there'll be quite a few. But to this point, this is the fourth or fifth one. So in the previous videos, you would have observed me going to Peru, Illinois, and loading this up, picking it up, bringing it back home, and going through the parts, doing a lot of cleaning and minor repair work. And now I'm going to put it together. So I've already put on the big cast iron arm here with the reversing switch because I wired up the motor. But that's really all that I have done in regards to reassembly. Now, there are a few things that have to be done in the correct order. And I've already cleaned up the bed and the weight, and I had to use a hone a little bit. Somebody said, no, don't use abrasives, but when you've got high points, you have to remove them, and that's usually done with a hone. I'm very hesitant to use a file, so I just used a stone for that. And abrasive, I've been scolded for using abrasives, but this is an ancient machine. It's 85 years old, and it's in, kind of rough shape, so those tools must be applied, whether you agree to it or not. Well, the carriage has to go on first, and you'll see why in just a few moments. So I've cleaned underneath very well, and I've polished and detailed the V-way grooves right under here. They are perfectly clean and ready to install. The V-ways have been cleaned thoroughly, and I need to have a little bit of oil on the V's before I assemble it. Never assemble anything dry. I know I keep saying that, probably drives you nuts. All right, now it's ready to put on. Okay. And next I install the gearbox along with the lead screw, and it has to be fed through this casting. Now there is a keyway here and a key in there, and they have to be lined up, and I expect it to be very fiddly. There, I felt it go in. And then there's 3 Philister screws right here. We've got a spite mower out there today, don't we? And next I will install the bearing for the end of the lead screw, so I'll make sure that's wiped clean, and a couple drops of oil. And as you probably notice, it needs a new Gitz oiler there. That's totally mutilated. This thing never did get, well, it's got some green on the back, but it certainly doesn't on the front. And that just simply goes in there like that, with 2 Philister head screws from the top right through the bed. And another drop of oil for the good of the cause. Now there has to be a provision to keep the saddle from lifting off. Can you see how I can move it? And that's what this piece is. We've talked about this before. It's cast iron. I've already cleaned this thoroughly, and I've cleaned the under part of the bed right here where that is going to ride. So I'll go ahead and oil this, and this is going to be very fiddly to put under there and install 3 hex bolts and get them tight and all of that. Now, I do not remember there being any shims in here. You might remember the Atlas had brass shims, so I don't know if somebody took this off and lost them or if it doesn't need any. But when I put this on and I tighten the bolts, if it locks the carriage, that means we need some shims. Again, I won't show that other than the importance of a couple drops of Earl. And you can't get just a couple drops out of the beautiful Eagle 66, can you? It's a gusher. I'll be right back. Let it be known that there's still an awful lot of cleanup to be done on the carriage. And I wanted to save that for later because I will do some of that on camera, but it's slow going, and it's handier to have this mounted on the machine and do that than to have it on the bench because it's so heavy and unruly. But at some point, both the compound and the cross slide will come off. But for now, a couple drops of oil on the dovetails here and on the screw, and then I'm ready to put this cover that goes on to the taper attachment, and there's 2 Philister head screws here that hold that on. And I'll tighten those down. And tighten these down nicely. Okay, there is a missing sheet metal cover, and I probably can fabricate it if I can figure out what it looks like, that would go over this. It's probably been missing since Truman beat Dewey. But for now, a washer and the clamp will have to do. Okay, this 5-pound chunk of cast iron, it seems like it's overbuilt, is the clamp for the telescoping taper attachment. So there's a V there that goes right onto this V-way, and of course the clamp for that, so it needs to be loose. And I've already put a little oil on here, and we'll line it up with the pilot there, and it goes right on. And then there is a washer and a nut to put on and tighten down. That's backwards. By the way, this is what's called a finished nut. Look at how pretty that is. And that can be tightened down securely with your 3/4 inch wrench or your metric crescent wrench. And one other thing I want to tell you about before we move on is that unless you are actually using the taper attachment, keep this nut and bolt, this bolt loose, because you want that to slide like that. However, when you're using this, you do not want it to slide. There's an alternate way of doing this to loosen this up and just flip the whole thing upside down and let it hang there. That's what most people do. So I went back and loosened this nut just a little bit. That allows me to swing this off, and always put the clamp back on there or you will lose it at some point. And then, like as I said, most people just leave it hang there like that out of the way. And while I'm down at the end of the lathe, I'll go ahead and mount Dad's little tool tray here. I really like this. That's a good idea for some of you people out there, because you know you run out of places to set things down because we got too much stuff, and this will just be snugged up like that. No, it won't. I got to get a wrench for that. And of course, the darn thing is already getting overloaded. There wouldn't be enough room if you had a 4x8 sheet of plywood on there, would it? And now my favorite little tray gets mounted. Not much room on there, but I love it for some reason. Well, that's just about enough fun for today, and I'm getting hungry at supper time. So tomorrow, in this video, I will mount the headstock, which is kind of a big job, and the belt, and we'll test run this and talk about a few other things. See you in the morning. Well, good morning again. I'm back in the shop, and the task this morning is to put the headstock back on the South Bend machine. No easy job because it's quite heavy and I have to keep the underneath of it clean and oiled, as well as the ways over here. Absolutely no particles of debris or chips or anything like that. It's got to be clean. So let's give that a try, and it'll be kind of fiddly because I've got those two clamps to put underneath there, and there's virtually no room for a wrench, and it's a very short stroke type of wrenching, so it's kind of miserable. I won't show all of it. And remember, the headstock has to be placed over this dowel pin here for accurate alignment and positioning. And there it is. Okay, there's two clamps that will tighten the headstock to the bed, and this one, cast iron, goes on the left end. At least that's how I took it apart. But this one looks like a replacement. I don't believe that's factory, but it will work, but I don't know what maybe happened to the original. And this is the one that's real tricky to get in. So I'll be back in a minute after that nightmare job is done. I kid you not when I say it's a half hour later. Man, was that a struggle. But this one, 5/8 I can get from the outside. That's not bad. But take a look at the other one. The previous owner of this lathe, my friend Lee, knew that I would need ratchet wrenches to get at this bolt down in here. So he gave me a whole handful, and I think, I guess they're called gear wrench. But the only size that I really need is 5/8. And it's missing, of course. Well, no problemo. So a regular length wrench like that is so long that you can't get the stroke that you need, even with a 12 point. So a week ago when I did this before, I actually cut one off, an old Craftsman, and it worked great, but I instantly lost it. And in the meantime, I found that I had this in one of my drawers. You know, I have 1,000 wrenches. So, but anyway, the short one allows me to get on there and take the short stroke that I need. Job done. That was miserable. Well, it's starting to look like a lathe again, isn't it? Now, there's still an awful lot of cleanup work and so on to do on the headstock. I really only did a superficial job so far because my intent was to do that a little bit later. And similarly on this end, remember I got a broken thumbnail there, whatever you want to call that little lever, and these gears still need to be cleaned, and that again will be done later. Never do it now if you can put it off for a little while, you know. But for now, let me put the Banjo back on, which doesn't really look like a Banjo as we know them on the other machines, but that'll just take a minute to put on, and those gears are all cleaned up nicely. Well, this is what we call a Banjo on the other machines, but it sure doesn't look like one, so there's probably a different name for it. Again, the gears have been cleaned up. I oiled this, and on she goes, and then this will be snugged up. But before I do, remember a few minutes ago I said, what the heck was this thing? And I was thinking it was a carriage stop. You know, it's been 2 weeks since I took this apart. So anyway, this goes right on to the V-way right here, and I have to get the right positioning here, and then this bolt goes into the slot right here, and then we will tighten this up. This is the sliding gear, you know, that is used in conjunction with this type of gearbox. Not all machines have that. My closing does. And now I'll tighten these two screws. And remember, you have to engage the gears the correct amount, not too tight, not too loose, and that's covered in the book. So I'm bringing it up, and I haven't oiled these yet. And I will snug up this and tighten this one. And it's good to go after I oil it. And of course, now the gear guard goes on. It's all cleaned up by my dear wife. Looks pretty good. Needs paint though, of course. And you know, this is held on with 3 screws. It is not hinged. So I don't really want it on yet, but it goes on like this with 1, 2, 3 round head screws. Again, this is cast iron. It's quite heavy. Well, it looks like a lathe now, doesn't it? And I'm not quite done, but I'm done for the day, so this concludes part 1 of a 2-part series. Quite a bit more to do, little details and so on, so I'll see you in part 2 coming up soon. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, leave a comment, subscribe, and thumbs up. So long for now.